All right, so let's go ahead and start creating playlists. This will also introduce a concept called foreign keys, which gives us a nice tight coupling between playlists and videos, which is really just a model to another model, both on the Django side as well as on the database side. So I'm going to go ahead and create the app for this. So Python manage.py, start, app, and playlists. Now right away you might be like, wait, why are you creating a new app when you can create it inside of the videos app? Well, a big part of this is that apps themselves should only do one thing really well. You'll see that I already have all of these tests. I have a lot of things going on in this app as it stands right now. And to add another model with a bunch of other tests is just going to make this app really big. Technically it'd work, but it'd be actually kind of hard to maintain. So I'm going to have it separate in a completely new application. But I will be taking a lot of inspiration from the videos model. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the entire thing. Now you're like, wait a minute, why are we copying and pasting this entire thing? Well, a big part of the reason actually has to do with the video class itself. And we are going to now call it playlist, right? So I actually want to have a lot of the same features that video had inside of this playlist one, but I'm going to be adding a few of them. So I can go ahead and get rid of some of the comments in here. I also do not need the video ID because we are going to be coupling this playlist with the actual video model in just a little bit. I definitely want to have the published stuff, right? Timestamp and updated and active. Maybe you could do away with not having those, but those are things that I also might want to have and keep track of over time as well. So I will leave them in there. So the proxies, perhaps I need those, perhaps I don't, but I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those proxies. I'm just going to leave playlist in here as is. And now I'm going to go ahead and also connect into my signals for this playlist, right? And then the next thing is just changing the video manager to playlist manager. And then the actual video query set to, you guessed it, playlist query set. Okay. So as of now, it's almost identical to the video. It's just missing one thing. This is part of the reason I actually moved out the publish state options just like this, is to have this kind of flexibility as well as those receiver functions. So now they kind of feature and work in a very similar way. So now that we've got this, let's actually go ahead and add this into our settings. And we'll go ahead and add installed apps, playlists. Okay, so a couple things, Python manage.py, make migrations, and then Python manage.py migrate, and then Python manage.py test. And speaking of tests, should we actually have basically copies of tests? Well, yeah, we should. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that and bring it into tests. And a cool feature that VS Code has is if you do Command F, it's going to find matching items here. So all I want to match is video and change it to playlist. Make sure you do the capitalization here. And then I want to change all of them. Okay. And then of course I don't actually have video IDs now. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick search for video ID and get rid of all of the places that have video ID. And there we go. No big deal. We've got the slugs. That's fine. The title also fine. The amount of things created also fine. And draft case, publish case, and manager. Cool. So everything's looking so far so good with playlists. So let's go ahead and run Python manage.py, test, and playlists. And sure enough, we get 6 more tests. And if I run test now, I get 12 total tests. Great. Okay. So we did repeat ourselves a lot with this, and that does violate dry. Like we don't actually want to repeat ourselves over and over again. So I'm actually going to keep it violating dry because I don't want to add too many layers of abstraction here. I can absolutely do that where I'm kind of abstracting away all of these tests, but I actually don't want to do that for many reasons. One of them being I need to know exactly what I'm testing for this particular model. Another one being that perhaps I want to just remove some of these tests and not have them. Do I really need a test created count? Maybe, but maybe not. I'll leave it in for now. But let's get to the actual meat and potatoes of this, and that is adding our first foreign key and seeing what that is. So the first thing is I'm going to go ahead and say video equals to models.foreign key, and it's going to take in the video model class itself, which means we have to import it. So from videos.models, import video. Okay. So what this is going to do is it's going to give me one video per playlist. So realistically, this is probably my featured video, but I'm not going to change anything related to it just yet. I'll just call it video. And then I need to have null being an option, and then on delete being models.setNull. I will definitely explain those things as we go forward. For now, we'll just leave it as is. Okay, so I've made some changes. Let's run our migrations. So first off, make migrations. Second, migrate. And then finally, test. Okay, all successful. Good. So now that we've got this, how does this work exactly? Well, let's go back into tests. And again, I'm going to go ahead and do from videos.models, import video. And inside here, I now want to actually create a video object. So I'll go ahead and say self.videoA equals to video.objects.create, title being my title. And I believe we have a video ID as a requirement. And I'll just give it ABC123. Okay. So now in my playlist object, I'm going to associate it to this video itself, right? So we can actually call it just video A, and then self.videoA is equal to that. And then we'll pass in video being that video A. Great. So I could do this for both of them. That actually doesn't really matter right now. We can reuse these videos as needed. There we go. So I did make some fairly new changes to my tests. So let's just go ahead and test out our playlists just to make sure that I'm not getting any errors. Okay, great. And then let's do just a general test. Okay, great. So what we're actually seeing here is this create is isolated to this test case, right? It's not actually going across the board. That's cool. But let's actually test some other things out here. So first off, let's go ahead and do define video or test video playlist. Ooh, what's that mean? Well, what this is we want to actually test that there is a foreign key connection to the places that it should be, right? So in this case, if I do self.videoA.playlist.set.all, I should actually have two items in here. So my query set is equal to that. So I'm going to go ahead and do self.assert true qs.count, or rather we want to assert equal. qs.count is 2. I'll explain this in a second. Let's go ahead and run that test. So playlists, and it's successful. Okay, so how did that work? What are we even talking about here? Okay, so this is that tight relationship that's happening here. Now, I think it stands to reason, and hopefully fairly obviously, that if we do test playlist video, the opposite of this, and I went in and grabbed object A. So if I said assert equal the self.object.a.video is equal to the self.videoA, and perhaps we should use the ID, but I'll go ahead and do this first. So test playlist video. Try that again, and I get a successful call. Okay, so this is how the foreign keys are working. And it makes a lot more sense when we're not in the test. I think this might actually make things a little bit confusing. So wait until we go to the next one, and you'll see a lot more when we go into the admin. Okay, so for now, though, what we've got is we have a field on here that's referenced to an entire other class. That is a tight coupling. That is what we see with this, right? So self.obj.video, when we created that playlist, we added the video in there, the actual instance of that video. We can actually reference that instance, and those are the exact same. Now, the video also has the reverse. The video can also access the playlist that it is a part of, which is what's going on here. Okay, cool. So that part is how these foreign keys are going to work. But again, it's still kind of confusing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add all of this stuff into the admin so we can see what it looks like in the admin, and then we'll play around with it in the shell.